What up, film fans? Happy Monday. Feels like a Black Monday. It's the Monday after a Cowboys loss. Welcome
What?
to episode 24. This is a brand new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast presents Sports Breakers. I'm one of your hosts, Juan, and I am joined by the cast. Or no cast,
Just me.
just you.
Just me.
So, man, other than me being a little under the weather, how do you feel?
So last week it was me. This week it's you. We both are dealing or have dealt with COVID. So I feel much better than last week. I was just coming down with it as we were wrapping up our podcast, and it feels like you're just kind of getting started with it.
I'm just getting started, man. It's crazy to think that this thing is still not gone.
It's more of a mild strain. Honestly,
did your eyes get red with it? Because my eyes got super red.
They got a little scratchy the first day, but you'll get some body aches. You'll feel kind of cold, but you're actually hot. So just tomorrow, you're definitely going to want some soup. Probably the day after that, and then after that, you'll be good to
go. You know who had COVID over the weekend too? Yesterday was the Dallas defense. But we'll get in. Well, let's start it off with the NFL because I think we're gonna have a fun conversation in college. But let's start off with the NFL. What a wild, weird day it was yesterday, week 3 in the NFL, or week 2 only. You had teams like the 49ers lose, the Ravens lose, Dallas lost, the Lions lost. So a very odd day, but it's pro football. It happens.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Dallas for a minute, man. Let's start off with that conversation. Defense looked hot. Week 1, they were flying around the field. They look like the wild card team or the divisional round from last year at home.
Yeah. I think they gave just Derek Carr the full reins to just do whatever, and he took a lot of deep shots.
Panic button in Dallas just yet? You got the Ravens coming to town next.
I mean, the Ravens lost to a pretty bad team as well Sunday, so I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet. But it's very soon if it keeps going the way that it's going, because we all kind of said there were these issues over the weekend, and when you start to say, "Oh well." One of the interceptions Dak threw, the receiver slipped and fell. Well, buddy, if you didn't take a $60 million contract, you might have some money to pay another receiver that isn't making $250,000 a year or whatever that dude's making, and might be a little bit better. Might know how to keep his feet underneath them, and
they probably could have kept Michael Gallup.
But you wanted that contract. I mean, CeeDee Lamb produced with his contract. Dak had 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 300 yards. Which is a very Dak stat line. So
I don't think we can blame yesterday's loss on Dak, though. He was shredding it up before, he just couldn't play catch up.
Yeah, couldn't play catch up. They got close. Defense gave it right back.
I think the first 4 times Dallas touched the ball, they had field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah, 3 field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah, but it was unsettling, and I feel this way: if the Ravens come to town and have their way with Dallas, and they start off 1-2.
Yeah.
Does Mike Zimmer get fired?
If the defense isn't able to perform next week, it's very possible. They look good week 1 already, but week 2 and 3, if they get shredded, it might be time for. But again, like I said, it falls into that. You wanted to pay Dak all this money when.
Bland is also unavailable on the other side of Travion Diggs, but still, I don't think 1 or 2 men make a defense. We can get off the Dallas bandwagon right quick. Week 2, I'm sorry, started with the Buffalo Bills demolishing the Miami Dolphins.
The Tualis.
Tualis, he's out. Concussion. He'll probably be out for 2 or 3 weeks. If he is forced to retire, do you see Miami calling Mister TB12, who,
There's talks. He has a home in Miami.
yeah, he lives in Miami. He it was between Miami and Tampa a few years ago when he decided to leave New England. How does that work? Would Miami pay out his Fox contract?
He might ask Fox to put it on hold. They'll probably bring back Greg Olson. I don't know how that would work. It's up to the two parties. Obviously,
Miami is built to win now, but damn, they didn't look good Thursday night.
No, they didn't. They did not. But Josh Allen didn't have. I was on a Discord call with a couple buddies watching the game, and he was one of the guys who had drafted Josh Allen in his fantasy league. Was like, see, I told you Josh Allen was good. And you look at his final stats, and it's like 150 yards, 1 touchdown.
He was 13 for 19, 139 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, it wasn't anything to be like blown away by.
No, he didn't slice him up. Miami just had a hard time, couldn't stop him from scoring.
Tua literally gave them the ball on the plus side pretty much every time he threw a pick. So it's hard to judge Buffalo off that win.
The Minnesota upsetting the 49ers. They look like they just can't get the ball rolling without Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, and they're going to be without him for
6 weeks.
A year. You never know. 6 weeks could be longer than that, but yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold looked to really find some footing there. He had some really good passes. That deep ball to Justin Jefferson on the 97-yard touchdown was a pretty ball. He put it right on the money. Justin Jefferson had to slope a little bit, but he was already throwing it about 50, 60 yards.
Any surprises the first 2 weeks of the season? I mean, you got the Ravens 0-2, the Chargers 2-0, the Steelers 2-0, Minnesota 2-0, the Texans 2-0, the Saints 2-0, the Buccaneers 2-0.
There's not any real surprises with records.
The Seahawks 2-0.
I would say more so with the caliber of play for teams.
The Rams are winless.
The Rams getting absolutely blown out by the Cardinals was surprising.
And I got to say, I said it in last week's podcast. Last night's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs completely. I'm not even a Bengals fan, and that call pissed me off. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati has their number. They show it every time they play together. The Bengals should have won last night's game. They had the game won with that 4th down stop, and the referee just you don't change the hand of a game on a flag. And it seems like the NFL has no problem doing that if it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
100%. We saw the Thursday before last, the Ravens were called for illegal formations
6 times.
10 times. Chiefs, none. But then you go throughout the week, and they literally don't call it on anybody else. Maybe once. But the Chiefs were doing the exact same thing in the same game, and they didn't get it called on. So even stemming back to last year, you were sitting there saying, oh, they're barely hitting Patrick Mahomes, and they're getting these flags, or they're doing this and getting the flags. It's very obvious that the Kansas City Chiefs are getting NFL advantage in some of these games. And when you're a defensive player and you're attacking a ball and not a player because the ball is thrown up in the air, you have the same right to that area as that player.
Yep.
If anything, it could have been offensive pass interference because the offensive player came into the defensive player when he was already jumping to get the ball.
And even Romo's an offensive guy anyway, but he's sitting there calling the game, and he's like, oh, he got there like a second too soon. Even if that's the case, that completely gave them the game.
Yeah.
4th down with the game on the line, you call that like in a third quarter, not in the 4th quarter with 3 seconds or 15 seconds to go.
You don't make a call on a jackpot pass.
Yeah.
You don't.
So I believe now Cincinnati now has a tough time maybe going to the playoffs this year because the percentage is easy. When you start 0-2, you only have like a 45% chance of making the playoffs. True, next Monday night they have the Commanders at home, so Cincinnati could get that win. But 0-3, you got a 0.9 chance of making
Yeah.
the playoffs now.
Couple updates on injuries. Isaiah Pacheco is out with a fibula injury, so a bone in his leg. And it was just said that Deebo Samuel is out for the next couple of weeks with the calf strain. So an offense that's already sputtering, and the 49ers is going to be losing a little bit more talent.
Madden curse?
I think there's a lot of people going out with injuries early on this year.
Speaking of Madden, we're gonna get ready to get into week 3 of the NFL, but Madden, after digging into it for a few weeks, I kind of dig it.
It's
I,
good.
I I like it. Edward from the Cine-Men movie podcast was talking to me yesterday. He was like, "Which one do you think is tougher?" And I'm like, "That's a good question." I was like, "I think it's college football.
College
A
football's tougher.
because college football's had a lot more patches, so there's less glitches, I think, and the AI has been updated. And once Madden gets those updates, maybe it'll be a little bit tougher. But so far, Madden has been real smooth, and I love the way the players look on those
Yeah,
close-ups, especially.
yeah. The gameplay of Madden's fun. College football is just it's hectic because you're having to cover such a wide field because of the hashes, and the AI on Heisman is ridiculous compared to the AI on all Madden. So both fun
Let's
games in their own rights, though.
let's dig into week 3 here a little bit in the NFL. First off tonight, Falcons, Eagles. We both last week, I believe, picked the Eagles. You changing any?
No, I think Kirk Cousins is still Kirk Cousins. Saquon Barkley is MVP top 3 at the moment after that performance. So if he has another good performance, I think he might even hold on to that top spot in sole first place early on. But I think the Eagles beat this or win this game by 10 plus.
How do you think my boy Aaron Rodgers looked against Tennessee? Granted, it was Tennessee. It was good to see the Jets get a win.
Yeah, I mean, they're struggling a little bit, but
How about that drive? We didn't talk about it last Monday because we obviously did the podcast before the game. He had that one amazing touchdown drive that looked.
he
He looked
just
like
threw it to
Aaron Rod.
Garrett Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like Aaron Rodgers from old.
Yeah, and I mean, you'll probably get to that, but it's a chemistry thing right now. They've had 2 games of live action of being able to play together and understand certain tendencies that one another's going to do. If these receivers can just kind of mold to what Aaron Rodgers is or does, I think they'll be all right. But to only score 24 and barely win that game against Tennessee, I don't want to say panic, but you got to be better than that. Tennessee's not that good of a squad.
Well, we will see them Thursday on Prime Video. Let's kick off our picks for Week 3. A very good New England defense up against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets Thursday night. Who do you got in? It's in MetLife Stadium.
I'll take the Jets just because it's week 3. I think that they'll start to continue to move forward. I think they have the better quarterback, running back, wide receiver room. But if that New England defense is as legit as we've been made to believe, they might have
They
a
should. New England should be 2-0 right now.
should be.
Yeah, but I'm going to go with you. I think I'm going to go Jets just because of Aaron Rodgers. Who must win? Chicago Bears at the 0-2 Indianapolis Colts. I think this is a must win for the Colts.
Yeah.
It's in Indianapolis. I just don't trust Caleb Williams to get the show started yet. I'm gonna go Indianapolis.
No, I mean Anthony Richardson, if he can come out and kind of do what he did week 1, and the defense just has a little bit more to him, which they should, because Caleb Williams is kind of struggling. Caleb did have a pretty big jump from week 1 to week 2, but I think the Colts would squeak this one out.
Caleb Williams is still seeking his first NFL passing touchdown. Anthony Richardson has turned the ball over four
Four
times in 2
times.
games.
Yeah,
Um,
not good.
the Los Angeles Chargers at Pittsburgh Steelers, both teams 2-0. Who do you got? That Pittsburgh defense right now is legit too.
They're legit, but something in me is saying that the Chargers are starting to become a little bit more of what we thought they would be. So give me the Chargers.
You have the Chargers. I'm taking that defense at home, even if Justin Fields can just get some field goals. I got Steelers in a close game, maybe like 19-13.
Well, I mean, I like the Chargers because they're really balanced. We all thought Austin Eckler leaving was going to be bad for them. J.K. Dobbins has come in 266 yards in 2 games on 27 carries with 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert has 274 yards and 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception. They're not really turning the ball over. They're able to consistently kind of keep drives together. So if the Steelers defense can get in the backfield and cause some havoc, I think it's Steelers easily, but I'm feeling the Chargers right now.
Another huge noon game right off the bat. Houston Texans at Minnesota, a battle of 2-0 teams. Who do you got?
Give me Houston. I think their defense is going to be pretty good. I don't want to say Minnesota got away with a win against the Niners because the Niners aren't the Niners aren't the Niners right now, and it's obvious. Yes, they beat the Jets pretty bad week 1, but they didn't look like they were in a very good offensive rhythm over the weekend. So I see that coming back together for the Niners. But on the Minnesota side, if they were playing an actual put together Niners team, I don't think they win that game like they do. So give me the Texans.
I think Minnesota runs with this chemistry they got going on, and I think they run with Justin Jefferson, the weapons, the defense in that dome.
If Justin Jefferson's in, because he left the game questionable Sunday.
Oh, he is questionable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna still go with Minnesota. I'm going with the home team here. I think Minnesota gets them. We haven't seen Philly tonight since they've been back from Puerto Rico, or wherever they were opening week. Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints. Should be an interesting game. Saints have been they look like Drew Brees led Saints.
I like the team components offensively for the Saints right now. Derek Carr's in that stretch where he's really feeling it offensively. I think they continue to roll with it in this game. Can't say what they'll be down the line, but Derek Carr's in that moment where he was kind of in that MVP phase in Las Vegas. I think he's in that, and I think it continues with this game.
I'll agree with you. I got Saints at home. The winless Denver Broncos at the 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Give me my boy Bake. Let him cook. My man is running.
He looks really good.
Very good offense.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens when you let Baker Mayfield come in and be consistent with an offensive coordinator for a year, a coach, a system, and let him continue to build on when he's not hurt.
It's also an organization that's used to winning and that wants to win. And you got to look at it. They're still just 3 years removed from a Super Bowl team.
Right, but that Super Bowl team consists of who? Antoine Winfield and Mike Evans?
Marquise Goodwin is still there, too.
There's a couple pieces left, but not – I mean, the offensive line maybe a little bit, but overall, it was a different coach. I think a couple defensive players are not there anymore, so it's a different team. It's not like it's the same Super Bowl team, but it's funny to see Baker Mayfield out here having one of the better seasons early on so far for a quarterback when the Carolina Panthers had him on the practice squad as a defensive end on their scout team.
Well, it's also
just goes to show you how big of a clown franchise that is right now.
It is a big clown franchise because they also just named what's his name, the quarterback starter. They benched
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. They just announced it like an hour ago. What's his name? Old redhead from Cincinnati is going to start this Sunday.
Who? Dalton.
Andy Dalton starting Sunday. Yeah. Let's talk about that game.
They traded away a franchise to get Bryce Fields, and now they're not even going to run with him.
Yeah. Let's talk about that game. The North Carolina Panthers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Give me the Raiders.
Yeah, I think the Raiders defense kind of carries them. Gardner Minshew is doing just enough to kind of keep them afloat offensively. So
I think
Panthers are.
I think the Panthers go and they're going to go for that first pick overall in April next year.
Who's going to be that pick though? If we're looking at college, we're kind of jumping to college football. As far as quarterbacks go, you got Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe.
Do they already go quarterback?
If they're benching Bryce Young, they have to do something. Andy Dalton's not the answer long term.
I don't know. I don't know, man. If they go quarterback for the second time in 3 years at number one, I trade away that pick and get a few handful of picks and maybe build around Bryce Young.
That's what we would do, but
yeah. But if you really don't think Bryce Young is the deal, then
I don't think the offensive line's good. I don't think the defense is good. I don't think they have very good receivers. It's a whole mess that they traded away their future to get Bryce Young when they could have waited a year and got. Granted, Caleb Williams isn't playing like lights out either, but DJ Moore and the other picks that they used on those players are looking pretty good.
No disrespect to Bryce Young, because the man's obviously doing something that we can't do. But who's to say that also maybe the North Carolina Panthers draft room just got it wrong? Maybe they should have went with C.J. Stroud. Maybe this was just I'm not comparing the two to Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, but maybe they picked Ryan Leaf.
That's possible. I mean, college players do not always amount to NFL players. I mean, we see that with players coming from, Northern Illinois and all these other places. Either you're about it and you're good, or you're not. And sometimes people just don't translate well.
The Green Bay Packers at the winless Tennessee Titans. Packers still don't have Jordan Love, right?
No. He might come back next week, but
even with the backup, they beat the Colts. So I'm going. I think Tennessee's just bad. They're another bad team, ridiculous franchise. I'm going to go Green Bay Packers on the road by 3.
Who is their backup? Sean Clifford? Or no, Malik Willis. Yeah, give me Packers. Malik Willis did look pretty good. I forgot who he was. He did look pretty good. He had a couple touchdown passes, maybe one touchdown pass. But I think they have a decent enough quarterback room to kind of keep it. Yeah, I don't think Tennessee's that good, so I'll take Green Bay.
Oh. Excuse me. The New York Football Giants at Cleveland Browns.
Give me the Browns. Giants are a mess.
I got the Browns too. Doesn't matter who's in at quarterback for the Giants. Fox NFL Game of the Week. Baltimore Ravens 0-2 at the Dallas Cowboys. I don't see this. This hurts me to say it because you guys can see the towels behind me. I don't think, as good as the Ravens are, I don't think they go 0-3. I think they show up to Dallas and they manhandle Dallas again. Completely taking away Micah Parsons. They're going to run the football. Dallas can't stop the run. They're not going to stop Lamar Jackson from running. I don't want to see another burial game, but I think the Ravens win by 10.
I think the Ravens win as well.
So,
if the Ravens don't win, though, then you have issues in Baltimore, and that's a completely different conversation.
Yeah, should be interesting. The Miami Dolphins at the Seattle Seahawks.
Give me
It's
Seattle.
in Seattle. I don't know who the backup is in Miami. Um, but either way, even if Tagovailoa was playing, I like Seattle at home. Uh,
Their backup is Skylar Thompson, former K
yeah,
State quarterback, and I think they reached out to get somebody else, or they inquired about getting somebody else. But
yeah. Give me
uh, give
Seattle.
give me Seattle.
The Detroit Lions, which kind of was a shocker for them to lose, kind of to Tampa
Was
at
it?
home at least,
Was it?
is at Arizona.
Was it a shocker though?
To me, it was even because
Tampa played them really good last year.
Baker had decent numbers. I think the Cardinals get the win at home in the toaster in Arizona.
No, I think Aiden Hutchinson's a dog. I think he gets after Kyler. I think they win this game. I think the Lions come back and bounce back.
The Rams, they can't afford to go 0-3, but they host the defending NFC champions, the 49ers in Los Angeles at the Rams. Who you got?
Los Angeles is missing Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup next week. Give me the Niners.
You know, the Niners on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have
The
Aaron Donald.
Niners are also missing players too, but
The
I
Rams
think the
can't. The
defense is
Rams
pretty
can't.
good.
Yeah, the Rams. I was gonna say the Rams can't get after anybody. I'm gonna go with the Niners on the road. Uh, does luck run out in Kansas City Sunday night football? Kansas City at Atlanta Sunday night football. Kansas City for the win.
Chiefs for the win.
3-0 start for the Chiefs. Next Monday, for some reason, there's two games: Jacksonville at Buffalo, and then Washington at Cincinnati.
Give me Buffalo and give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, Jane Daniels looked like he was out there having fun, but Cincinnati in Cincinnati is a completely different ball game. Uh, I'm gonna go opposite though. I gotta put some trust in Trevor Lawrence. I don't think the Jags can afford to go 0-3. I like their defense a little bit better than Buffalo. I'm gonna go Jaguars on the road in Buffalo, and I'll take Cincinnati at home. So, excuse me. Let's get into honestly a conversation that I could not wait to get into today because college football was just a complete joy to watch this past weekend, and I can't wait to talk about the top 25 matchups. So, before we get into some predictions, man, did anything shock you last week in college football? I wasn't
Colorado
expecting.
State getting kind of trounced by Colorado was a surprise after all that talk they were doing and
I
how
knew
they
you
played
said
them last year.
I knew you said also Tulsa wasn't very good, but I wasn't expecting Oklahoma State to come out and completely just air raid the football.
Well, when Oklahoma State has a 30-year-old quarterback, they're hard to beat. I'll tell you that.
I think Mike Gundy might have hurt us last week too.
There was a couple plays though where Bowman just like threw the ball up. The offensive players saw where the ball was, adjusted, got the ball, and went downfield. And Tulsa just was completely. It wasn't a good throw, but Tulsa was just completely lost, didn't know where the ball was, and they got completely air raided on the over the weekend.
Let's get into some picks, man. This is going to be pretty fun. Number 24 Illinois at number 22 Nebraska this Friday night on Fox. Nebraska looks like they're pretty legit. We talked about them last week. I think Nebraska starts off 4-0.
Nebraska's legit. Give me them. I think they cover the spread and they go 4-0.
It's a late game Saturday, but we're going to talk about the Texas Longhorns hosting UNL Monroe. It looks like Arch is going to start this game, possibly maybe the Mississippi State game too, and then they have a bye. When Quinn Ewers went down, that is the most awkward sound in a stadium that I've ever heard. Watching it live on TV, it went completely silenced, and then when Arch came in, the place just blew up.
Yeah,
It's like a love-hate relationship kind of thing. Thank God it's only a abdominal strain. And there's man. First off, I know Arch came in and tore it up, but it's San Antonio. First of all, okay, he had a 14-point lead.
yeah.
Quinn was like 14 of 16, almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns before he got hurt.
Yeah.
I hate the people saying already that he's lost his starting job. I don't agree with that. I don't think Quinn has lost his starting job.
So Archer surprised me a little bit, especially on that 67-yard run with the speed, kind of his intelligence on how to get the ball out in different places like he did last week on that little flick. It's one thing to come in and fit into a team. Yeah. It's another thing to come in and have the team fit around you. I think he's going to be fine because he fits into the team. There's nothing different. He's exactly what Quinn Ewers is, maybe just a little bit faster. They're playing UL Monroe 2-0, yeah, but
his quarterback IQ might be a little bit better.
I mean, he's got good uncles, obviously, but Quinn should not lose that starting spot until he loses it. You know what I mean?
And I don't think he will.
There shouldn't be anything, because you get into a situation where you're like, replace Quinn because we want Arch. We just want the name. Quinn's done nothing but win at Texas.
Yeah. And if you remove big games.
If you were to remove him and Arch Manning comes in and struggles against elite competition, which Quinn has already proven to be able to play against, then you're going to try to get Quinn back in, and who knows if his confidence is shot. Who knows if he's just like kind of like checked out because he's like, oh no, you guys would rather have him. That's a situation you don't want to have whenever you're already rolling with Quinn. Let Arch take over these couple games, hit the bye week, have Quinn come back, rolling into the Red River.
Yeah, I don't even think you need Quinn back as soon as the Mississippi State game. But it sounds like terrible. Yeah, but it also sounds like he will be available for that game if he's needed. I'm sure it's also going to go by how well will Arch start a game, even though it's University of Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah.
With that being said, they are the new #1 team. What if Louisiana Monroe just shows up and tries to give them a hard time? I still don't see it happening with that defense. I'm going to pick Texas.
No. I hate to say it. I think Texas is for real.
I also don't agree, and I want to talk to you about this. I don't agree that Texas should have jumped and became #1. Even though, they have their third string running back, quarterback went down, new quarterback came in, they still found a way to win. I still think they should have stayed at 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky has had Georgia's number defensively the last 3-4 years. They showed a graph where it was like, since 2020, they've held Georgia to their 3 lowest offensive outputs of 16, 14, and 13 points or something like that. And if you look at that and you look at the history, it's like, okay, Kentucky kind of pulls out all the stops against Georgia. This is just another one of those weeks. Georgia is still Georgia in my eyes. Yeah, and another one of those things, kind of like Quinn, you don't knock them just because of a game. Until somebody proves it, you got to keep them there.
Yeah.
But it's all for naught because Texas and Georgia play in about 5 weeks. So,
who you got? You got Texas big?
Yeah. I think they cover. I'm not going to say they cover the spread, but I do think they hit the over on the points at 52.5.
They might win bigger, but I'm going to say maybe like a 38-10 game, 42-10.
I'm thinking around like 48-10.
I don't know why this is big noon kickoff, but Marshall at Ohio State. Who do you got? Ohio State big?
It's big noon kickoff because CBS took the USC Michigan game. If CBS wasn't Big Ten this year, that would have been big a Fox. But yeah, give me Ohio State big.
Speaking of Michigan, USC at Michigan. This is another, is Michigan for real? They're defending champs. Do you think USC comes in and smacks them around like Texas did?
Give me USC by 9. I think USC is big enough offensively and defensively to kind of hold their own. And I think they have a little bit more offensive firepower than Michigan does to get a win. So give me USC by 9.
It looks good if Michigan wins for Texas, but I agree with you. I think USC spreads them out and just I'm
Uh,
not going to say mops the floor with them, but I think they win by 10 or 14.
Sark and Riley are very similar in their offensive styles and how they want to exploit defenses. Lincoln Riley able to go and watch that film and see instances of how Sark might have attacked that defense and where they were weak on the defensive line or a certain style of play. I think Riley's going to dig into that bag of tricks, kind of pull some things that he did. Michigan just has a quarterback issue, and they're not very good offensively. They don't have enough talent to be able to keep up if USC can score points. So
UCLA at number 16 LSU. LSU ended up coming back and beating the Gamecocks.
surprisingly, South Carolina should have won that game easily, but refs had a big hand in that one as well. I don't think LSU is that good, but I don't think UCLA is good at all. So give me LSU.
Yeah, I'll go same LSU. Let's talk some Big 12 action. Utah number 12 at Oklahoma State, both undefeated teams. I don't know if Cam Rising is back for Utah yet.
Yeah, if Cam Rising doesn't play, throw this to Oklahoma State. If Cam Rising does play, I think they have enough offensively to get it done. But it all depends on Cam in this game. If he's in, they win. If he's out, they don't win. That's as
I
simple
like
as it.
you. I like Utah so much. I'm gonna just go Utah even if he doesn't play. I want to see Oklahoma State fall.
Utah has struggled offensively the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks when Cam isn't in. Yes, they beat Utah State and scored 38 points, but it's Utah State. Not very good. When Cam went out versus Baylor, I don't think they scored again. So I think Oklahoma State has a little bit more defense, especially with Nick Martin at that linebacker spot. Losing Colin Oliver was big for them, but
He doesn't have an injury next to his name, which ESPN app, thank goodness, has been putting that red symbol next to their name if they're
okay.
out or even questionable. So Cam Rising doesn't have one of those next to his name.
Give me Utah then. Even though it's at Oklahoma State, Utah's played in some decent sized stadiums as well. They get loud. I don't think Cam Rising is faced by Oklahoma State's stadium.
Vanderbilt at Missouri, number 7 in the country. Missouri almost hooked one up last week. Do they get a hookup this week, or does Missouri win big?
I don't think they win big. I think they win by 17 or so. Vanderbilt kind of had their early season success, but I think they get back to being the same Vanderbilt we all know and love.
Cam Ward has been hot, and number 8 Miami is going to USF. Who do you got? Miami?
The spread is only 17 for this game, but the total is 65 and a half. Give me Miami by more than 17.
Oof.
I know South Florida held Alabama to a pretty tough game in the first 3 quarters, but they did that last year as well. I like Miami in this one. I think Miami's a lot better than we all thought at the beginning of the year.
I'll go Miami as well. More Big 12. K-State at BYU. Both teams are undefeated. Is K-State that good, or do you think BYU gives them a little run for their money?
Well, if they can do what they did last week to Arizona, K-State's going to win this handily. They completely shut down Arizona in their offense. So it is in Utah. Altitude might have something to do with it. So I haven't seen enough of BYU to pick them. I'm going to go Kansas State.
Big game of the night, Craig. Number 6, Tennessee at 15, Oklahoma in Norman. Game day is going to be there Saturday. Who you got?
You know, I was very firm on putting money on Tennessee to win just in case. Like, if OU wins, we get the win. If Tennessee wins, I get the money. But I saw a stat that said Tennessee has the easiest 3-game stretch in the FBS in the last 20-something years. They've played 3 very bad teams. Have they been winning big? Yes. Have they looked good? Yes. Have they caused a lot of turnovers and everything? Yes. Their opponents have only scored 13 points. I don't think NC State is as good as people think.
Which on paper, NC State was ranked when they beat them.
They were ranked, yes, but then they barely beat Louisiana Tech by 10. They beat Western Carolina 38-20. Who was the team? Kent State lost to St. Francis from Pennsylvania 23-17, a team that has never beaten an FBS opponent. Have you ever heard of St. Francis, the Red Flash? You ever heard of them?
No.
Neither have I. I think OU is they've been tested a little bit more. Yes, they haven't looked pretty. I do think Houston's better than some people think, just because of their coach. He's been in big moments. He's been in big games. You know how to game plan. OU's had a lot of people missing. I'll probably look like a fool come Monday next time we talk, but give me OU by 6.
I think the crowd's going to be rocking. I think it's a Norman night game.
It's the first time
SEC
OU's
game
been underdog at home since 1998. If the crowd is not rocking, there's seriously something wrong with us. This game should be as loud. This game should be louder than it was in 08 versus Texas Tech, when Texas Tech came in ranked number 1. This should be the loudest the crowd has ever been. You're able to hold more people than in 08. It's enclosed. No sound should escape. You have new and improved speakers. The way that the seating is different. This game should be the loudest game we've ever had in Norman, period.
I think the fans have to show up. I agree with you. The only thing that I think will save Tennessee in this game is if they go in and they just automatically shut OU up first 2 series, 3-0. Yeah. And if they score, say if it's 14-zip, as soon as Tennessee gets the ball, I think it's over.
If it's 14-zip and they get the ball back after a turnover or a punt or something, throw the towel in. But
I think this is going to be an SEC style defensive game. I think OU wins 20-16. I think the crowd and it being this is real college football like is basically do or die. These fans, the college atmosphere, the band, the noises, I think all that helps OU in this game. It's not going to be pretty. I think it's going to be a slugfest. Like I said, OU by 4 points, 2016. I think it's going to be a defensive game. OU has to keep it a defensive game if they're going to win.
OU has to. But here's the positives for OU. Last week when we played Tulane, we were missing our starting center. We were missing our starting left guard. If you watch that game, our left guard was atrocious. It was a 3-man rush. He would turn his entire body to help the center block, and they would delay blitz him. It's easy to cause havoc when you completely see a weakness on the if I can see a weakness on the field, I know a college coach can see a weakness on the field. And they attacked it multiple times during that game.
You think Josh Heupel coming back to Norman has any effect on how Tennessee might play?
He might try to go for the kill super early on, and it could backfire. You never know. He might come in and absolutely want to just kill us. He might come in and see the welcome back, and maybe things get a little jumbled. Who knows? It's the first time he's ever had this happen to him. You know what I mean? So
he wasn't coaching the last time Tennessee came to Norman?
He was at UCF.
Oh, okay.
So, but OU's getting their starting center back, their starting left guard, Archita, 2 corners, 2 wide receivers. I mean, when you're missing 7 to 9 pieces of your starting offense and defense, things get a little shaky. I think OU's had to play decent competition where they've been in games and had to feel the pressure in those moments. Tennessee's had a cakewalk, 3 straight cakewalks. They haven't played on the road. I know a lot of people are saying, well, when Jackson Arnold goes to Auburn, it's going to be hard for him to do this because this isn't that. It's his first true road test. This is Nico's first true road test. If the OU fans show up, if the OU defense shows up, if the people who have been out and hurt show up, and we have decent chemistry, I think this game's a lot closer, if not more lopsided than OU's favor than people might think.
If OU struggles and they get blown out of the water, what do you think it looks like the next weekend at Auburn?
At least it's not a home game. If OU gets absolutely blown out and just beat the shreds against Tennessee, it's going to take a week for this fan base to understand what's going on. And there's going to be a lot of talk about calling for heads and calling for things and this, and that. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that happens. I think this defense is good. I think this defense is deep. Like I said, Tennessee hasn't played anybody. So when that
you got to look at
what happens.
You got to look at Venables too, coming from Clemson, bringing some of his people over. Like this looks, at least the first 3 weeks of the OU season, it looks like it could be a championship defense if tested right and if thrown in the waters right. But we'll find out Saturday.
So I mean, let's think back to last year when we played Texas. I know you don't want to hear it, but we were coming off of
Texas came back, and if there was another 5 more minutes, Texas probably would have won that game.
It's possible, but I'm talking about the amount of pressure that was put on them. OU played. Yes, they beat Arkansas State 73-0. Arkansas State went on to win like one game that year. SMU, we won 28-11. SMU was pretty good last year. Beat the shit out of Tulsa. We saw how bad they are last week. Barely beat Cincinnati. And then we go in and people are kind of like, is this team good? Is this team bad? The defense looks good at times. The defense looks bad at other times. You know, this defense is better than it was last year. And the amount of pressure, the amount of things he was able to dial up against Texas, you're going to see that same. This is big boy football now. This is not going out and saying, it's Iowa State, you know, let's do this, and that. If we can stop them with this defense, we're good. Let's kind of play base, keep everything in front of us. When it's Texas, when it's big-time opponents, we're going to bring pressure, and if you beat us over the top, you're going to – this could be a really big game. This could be a really small game scoring-wise, because if Tennessee scores over the top and beats the pressure, then they're going to score quickly. Or if they can't handle the pressure, it's going to be a low-scoring game. A lot of punting, a lot of field position changing. I think OU is going to struggle some.
Does it hurt you? Does it hurt to see that OU still struggling trying to run the football? If that's one thing, I know Tennessee's played an easier schedule. So, but Tennessee, it looks like they've just dominated the line of scrimmage and that they're running the football.
Tennessee has had 0 injuries. When you're getting a new line together for the first year, and then you add injuries on top of that, and you're playing with your 3rd, 4th string center at some points in the game, chemistry is not going to be there a little bit. I think the offensive line gets shored up a little bit because they looked better last week. If DeMarco will choose the right running back, which it's plain and obvious who the best running back on the team is, if he chooses the right running back, then I think we have a chance. But what do us fans know? We only called for Spencer Rattler to be benched, and then lo and behold, Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winner, came in. But
so you still think, say Tennessee, you know, dominates and Jackson struggles. It's still too early to call for a quarterback change, don't you?
I'm not saying a quarterback change. No.
Right, but I'm just saying, if say other fans do or commentators do, isn't it still too early? You've wrecked the dude's, you know, confidence if you do that. Because
depends on how bad he looks this week.
Again, just like, you know, we're talking about Quinn Ewers, he still's been winning games.
Right, but Quinn Ewers has also proved that he can play in games. If Arnold comes out and throws 4, 5 picks, you have to look at something. You can't sit there and say it's offense at this point. It's this at this
And
point.
what a storyline that would be though if he couldn't get it done and they bring in Casey Thompson just in time for
It
the
wouldn't
Red
be
River.
Casey. It'd be Michael
No,
Hawkins.
Hawkins did look pretty good in the
Hawkins looked
cleanup
pretty good.
Dottie. Yeah.
But I you got to give Arnold time. Like I said, they've pretty much been doing patchwork team at this point. You have to get it together in this week of practice, though.
So, still got OU. I got OU by 4. Like I said, I look at like a 19-16 game or a 20-16 game.
Yeah, if Norman is not rocking with College Game Day there, which means you should have people there tailgating, boozing up all day, hype and rowdy. If you're not going to make noise, stay at home, watch it on the TV. Just we have a thing here in Norman where people say, sit down, don't stand up. No, you go home. This needs to be an intimidating atmosphere. And if it's not, you go home. Watch the game from home. I don't care if you're a season ticket holder of 60 years or however long. Like, go home.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Enjoy your last couple of years watching it on TV.
You said Georgia plays Texas in a few weeks. I was kind of nervous about that game, but I just saw that game is in Austin somehow this week or this year.
Yeah, it's in Austin. That's what I'm saying. Do you guys have OU plays 5 of the top 7 ranked teams this year, while Texas plays like 2.
I did see that Oklahoma has Alabama at least in Norman. That should also be a fun atmosphere too.
It'll be fun.
So, I think that's gonna do it, man. Man, it's hard to believe college football is already a quarter of the way over after this weekend.
It sucks, man. Like it feels like it hasn't even started, and yet we're already in the big
quarter of the way done. Yeah. So next week it should be fun. We'll talk college football week number 5 and NFL week 4 predictions next Monday. If I can talk and get through tomorrow. Tomorrow is our 6th year anniversary episode for the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Tomorrow we are reviewing Furiosa. We are also unloading a massive email bag. So keep sending in some questions, comments, reviews. And next week or tomorrow, we'll talk Furiosa for our 6th year anniversary, which was a fun movie. So other than that, man, anything else you want to add to the sports conversation before we get out of here and enjoy some Monday Night Football?
No, if I'm wrong about OU, don't criticize me. I have a feeling it's going to be what you're thinking, but got to have hope. If you don't have hope, then football season's kind of worthless. But
we're going for, you know what, then I'm changing my vote. I'm going Dallas Cowboys this week, 29-13. Dallas throws 4 touchdowns. Dak looks impressive against a weak-ass defense. I'm changing my vote then.
All right.
Yeah. Zeke runs it. He turns into the Zeke of old. That's what I'm picking.
All right.
Yeah. I'm ready. Football's been good to us this year. We've had a fun time.
This Saturday will be one of the best Saturdays of the year too. So
yeah, it'll be a fun Saturday. Other than that, man, I think that's it. Next Monday, win or lose, Craig will be here to talk OU football. Win or lose, I'll be here to talk Texas and Dallas. So come back and hang out with us next Monday for another new episode. Until then, guys, COVID sucks and enjoy your week. Hook 'em.
Later. 54 minutes.